Welcome to Nightmare Vault, where the shadows of everyday life hide stories too chilling to forget. This Easter, when the church bells ring and children hunt for eggs, something darker stirs. Tonight, we bring you 3 true Easter horror stories that will make you rethink the holiday. Lock your doors, dim the lights, and step into the vault. You might not come out the same. Let's begin. The neighborhood I just moved into had a quirky little Easter tradition called "You've Been Egged." People would leave cheerful Easter baskets on each other's porches, full of pastel plastic eggs, chocolate, and notes like, "Keep the game going." I only heard about it from my neighbors. Someone even joked, "If you ever get a basket full of black eggs, it means you're cursed for the year." I laughed it off. It all sounded harmless. Kind of cute, actually. That afternoon, I passed by the nearby park and heard the church bells ringing in the distance, soft, hollow tones that hung in the cool spring air. There was still a wooden bunny statue sitting on my porch, something the last tenant must have left behind. It looked old. Out of place. Like it belonged to someone who had left in a hurry. That night, I got home late. The street was quiet. Fog clung low along the rooftops. And sitting on my front step was a basket. But not like any I'd seen. The wicker was gray and weathered. The eggs inside, pitch black. Smooth. Glossy. No patterns. No writing. Just black. Cold. Wrong. I looked around. No one. Not a single light on. No footsteps. No laughter. I picked up the basket. It was heavy, heavier than it should have been. I brought it inside and set it on the kitchen counter. Thinking it was a prank, I opened a few eggs. Empty. Ice cold inside. Then I noticed a slip of paper. Yellowed. Burnt slightly at the edges. Tucked neatly between 2 of the eggs. One line of shaky handwriting, in faded black ink. "Do not leave the house tonight." I froze. My heart started pounding, like someone was standing just behind me. I locked the door. Pulled every curtain shut. Scrubbed my hands under hot water until my skin turned red. But the feeling in my chest wouldn't go away. And when I turned off the light and lay down, there was a soft knock at the front door. I sat up straight. 3 knocks. Even. Precise. Spaced just far enough apart to feel deliberate. Then silence. Then, 3 more. Still soft. Still steady. I stepped into the hallway, leaving the lights off. Moved along the wall, staying in the shadows. I peeked through the side curtain. Under the dim glow of the porch light, stood a figure. Tall. Thin. Motionless. Not moving. Not shifting. But I could feel them staring directly at my door. In their hand, was a basket. The exact same kind. Same dull gray wicker. Same black eggs. I backed away slowly. And then, a soft scraping sound from the side window. Not the wind. It sounded like fingernails brushing against glass. I spun around, chest tight with dread. My phone buzzed. A text. From an unknown number. "Stay inside." Another came seconds later. "Do not open the door." Then a third. "He won't knock again. Next time, the door opens." I couldn't move. The air in the room felt thinner, like something had sucked the oxygen out. I turned back to the window. The figure was gone. I opened the front door and looked around. Nothing. Not even footprints. Just fog and cold. But when I came back inside, the basket I had left on the kitchen counter was gone. I turned on every light. checked every room, every door, every window. Nothing. And then, in my bedroom, sitting on the white bedsheet, was a single black egg. I stood frozen at the foot of my bed, staring at the black egg lying on my white sheets. No one else had keys to my house. Every window was locked. I'd checked. I picked it up. It was ice cold. Heavier than it should have been. No seams. No way to open it. I placed it on the shelf. Then left the bedroom. I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room, clutching my phone. Every time the screen dimmed, I thought I saw something shift in the corner of my eye. Around 3 a.m., I heard whispers. Soft. Coming from downstairs. Not the TV. Not the radio. I got up. Didn't turn on the lights. Tiptoed down the stairs. Each step swallowed in thick darkness. The whispers stopped. I stood in the kitchen, barely breathing. Then, a small thud behind me. I turned. Lying in the middle of the floor was a second black egg. I was sure it hadn't been there before. I didn't touch it. Just backed away. Step by step. Upstairs. When I reached the top, the kitchen light flickered. Once. Then again. Then went dark. My phone buzzed. Another message. Same unknown number. He's inside. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick, like something was pressing against my chest. I slammed the bedroom door. Pushed furniture against it. Pulled the curtains. Checked the lock again. Then, a faint scratching sound. From inside the closet. I stepped closer. Hand trembling on the knob. I opened the door. No one. But on the wooden panel inside, a fresh scratch mark. Like a fingernail had dragged across it. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't leave my room. I kept a wooden bat in my hand. Eyes locked on the closet I'd opened earlier. But for hours afterward, there was nothing. No more scratching. Just the sound of wind slipping through the doorframe. And a coldness that crept through my skin like it didn't belong to the air. When daylight finally came, I stepped out carefully. Everything looked normal. No signs of forced entry. No more messages. Except, the black egg on my shelf was gone. So was the one in the kitchen. For a moment, I doubted everything. Like I'd had one long nightmare and woken up in the same old house. I checked my doorbell camera. The footage showed me stepping onto the porch, picking up the basket. No one else. No figure. No shadow. I rewound it. Frame by frame. Just me. And the basket. Everyone in the neighborhood carried on with Easter like nothing happened. Kids ran through the grass, holding pastel baskets and laughing. I smiled. Nodded at the neighbors. Tried to act normal. But in my head, I kept seeing it. The figure under the porch light. The gray wicker basket. And the smooth, black eggs, like polished coal. That evening, I cleared away every Easter decoration. Took down the bunny statue. Turned off the porch lights. Packed everything into a box and left it in the attic. I never told anyone what happened. No one would believe me. And honestly, I don't want to remember. But ever since that night, every Easter weekend, I stay awake the entire Saturday night. No sleep. No lights. Because I still don't know if I was being warned or being marked. I came home for Easter last year, my first time back since starting college. Nothing had changed. Same quiet, boring town. Same brick sidewalks, pastel flags, and faded plastic bunny statues left over from spring parades years ago. That Saturday night, I met up with some old friends, Liam, Nate, Tyler, and Sarah. After a few beers behind Sarah's house, Liam said, "Let's do something a little crazy. We're too old for kitty egg hunts." Tyler smirked and nodded at Sarah. "What's crazier than hunting eggs at midnight in that abandoned park near the old neighborhood?" Everyone laughed. But no one said no. The park used to be our childhood spot. It had a carousel, a little bunny garden, a pond. But after an accident about 10 years ago, no one really talked about it. The place was shut down. Now, it was just overgrown grass, broken benches, and Easter statues covered in moss. There was still a faded wooden sign swaying in the wind, barely readable, something about Easter greetings. We agreed without thinking. It felt like doing something we weren't supposed to, which only made it more exciting. Sarah had brought a bag of plastic eggs from home. Each of us would hide 5 somewhere in the park. Then we'd split up and search. Whoever found the most, won. Stupid game. Felt amazing at the time. We stepped through the rusted gate just before midnight. No street lights. Just the moon and the sound of insects. The whole park was wrapped in this strange silence, not peaceful, but waiting. 1 hour. "Meet back here," Liam said. His voice had a slight shake to it. I grabbed my flashlight and phone, then headed toward the old carousel. The grass was thick. The dirt, damp. I immediately regretted wearing white sneakers. Near a collapsed vending machine, I spotted an egg. But it wasn't one of ours. It was black. Glossy. Smooth. Sitting dead center in the walkway, like it had been placed there deliberately. I bent down but didn't touch it. Something about it made the hair on my neck rise. I looked around. No one. I figured it was Nate messing with me. So I turned off my flashlight and crept behind a tilted planter box. No one. Only the sound of rustling in the grass, soft, steady, like someone walking, very slowly. I stood frozen behind the planter box. The rustling was still there. Slow. Getting closer. I held my breath. My heart was pounding so loud I thought whoever it was could hear it. Part of me still wanted to believe it was Nate or Tyler messing around. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I turned on my flashlight. The beam swept across the trees, caught the edge of a mossy Easter bunny statue, and then stopped. There was someone standing there. Still. Between 2 large tree trunks. Not moving. Not facing me. Just standing, tall, thin, wearing a dark jacket. I didn't recognize them. Couldn't see the face. They blended into the shadows, outlined only by the faint edge of my flashlight. "Hey!" I tried to call out, but my voice cracked. Dry throat. No volume. No response. I took a step back, light still pointed at them. They didn't move. Then, the flashlight flickered once, and died. I tapped the side. Nothing. I stepped back again. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message. It was from Nate. "Someone's walking near the pond. That's not one of us, right?" I didn't get a chance to reply. A hand grabbed my shoulder from behind. I screamed. Fell backward. And when I looked up, there was a man standing just a few feet away. Tall. Scruffy beard. Face smudged with dirt. His eyes, empty. Expressionless. Unblinking. He didn't say a word. Didn't move toward me. Just stared, like I had stepped somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. I scrambled to my feet and ran. Didn't look back. I heard footsteps behind me, steady, unhurried. matching my own pace exactly. When I reached the meeting spot, the others were already there. They looked confused. "I saw a guy," I gasped. "Someone's out here." "What?" Liam asked. "Why died?" He grabbed me. "Out there. In the woods." Everyone fell quiet. Sarah's voice shook. We need to leave. Right now." No one argued. We left the park through an old trail, walking fast, saying nothing. Every dry leaf we stepped on seemed to echo twice as loud in my head. Behind us, the park disappeared into darkness. The moss-covered bunny statues looked like they were watching us leave. No more jokes. No one mentioned how many eggs they found. We just wanted to get out of there. Once we reached the main road, Sarah finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, like she didn't want anyone but us to hear. "I remember hearing my parents talk about that park once. After the accident, a few homeless people started living there. They don't like people coming in at night. Especially during Easter." We turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" Tyler asked. "There was this one year, my mom whispered to my dad about it. Said a group of teens went into the park to film something. None of them live in town anymore." Silence. Tyler added, even softer. "When I was hiding near the pond, I saw two people. Thought it was you guys. But they didn't have flashlights. And they just stood there, the whole time." We all turned back toward the park. Wind moved through the trees, a low, steady whisper. I swallowed hard, remembering the blank stare of the man I saw. It felt like he wasn't just some drifter. He was there for a reason we weren't supposed to understand. I pulled out my phone to check Nate's text. It was gone. No messages. Nothing in the thread. Like it had never been sent. Liam stopped suddenly. His face went pale. "Guys." His voice shook. "Did any of us bring a black egg?" We all looked at each other. None of us had. We didn't use those. "Then what the hell is this?" Liam unzipped his backpack and pulled out a solid black egg, tucked neatly between some candy. We all took a step back. No one wanted to touch it. Sarah started crying. No one said a word. We just kept walking. And each of us knew. We'd been watched. Since the beginning. No one said much on the walk home. No jokes. No pictures. No talk about what had just happened. We said our goodbyes quietly, like we'd all agreed that none of it really happened. I didn't tell my parents. Didn't mention it to anyone at school. I told myself it was just a drifter. Someone unstable. And maybe the black egg had been left there by someone else. Just trash. But deep down, I knew better. A few days later, I texted Liam. Asked if he still had the egg. He replied, "Left it on my desk." Woke up, it was gone. I messaged Sarah, trying not to sound weird. She said, "Last night, I heard knocking at my bedroom window. 3 times. Like a slow drumbeat. When I looked, no one was there. But the windowsill, it was soaked. Like someone had stood there. For a long time. I didn't ask anything else. Underscore 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 underscore. I went back to school. Tried to pretend everything was normal. But every Easter, when someone posts pastel egg pics on Instagram, when I hear church bells echo across campus, When the kids behind the dorms scream in excitement over some plastic prize. I remember that night. That dark park. The man with empty eyes. The icy grip on my shoulder. And the black egg, tucked quietly into someone's backpack, though no one remembered bringing it. Underscore 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 underscore. I never went back to that park. Never suggested midnight egg hunts again. I don't know if there really is a different kind of Easter hunt happening out there. Or if it was just a warning. For trespassers. At the wrong place. At the wrong time. All I know is, every time it's dark, every time I hear rustling behind me, I think I'm about to feel that hand again. I visited my grandma's place last Easter. First time since starting college. The whole family was there, more than 20 people crammed into an old farmhouse built before the war. The scent of baked ham, perfume, and too many overlapping conversations filled the air. It was warm. Familiar. But I felt out of place. They talked about tractors, harvest seasons, fertilizer. Stuff I'd never cared about. The only one I connected with was Ryan, my cousin. A few years older, quiet, kind of funny in a dry way. The only one who didn't try to make me sing hymns or paint eggs. We stayed in the shed behind the house, near the edge of the field. Dusty, damp, but it had power and 2 half-decent chairs. That Friday night, we lay on fold-out mattresses, playing cards and listening to old music. Ryan cracked a soda, leaned back, and said, "You want to check something out tomorrow?" I glanced over. "You mean, like, go for a walk?" "No," he said. "Something better. The old barn." I knew which one he meant. I'd seen it through the window, a collapsed, wooden shape at the far end of the field. The door hung sideways like it had been hit or kicked. "Been abandoned a long time," Ryan added, like he could hear my thoughts. "But sometimes I see light inside. Dim, like lanterns or oil lamps. Kinda weird, right?" I chuckled. But something in his eyes said he wasn't joking. "What's even in there?" I asked. He shrugged. "Used to board horses. Now it's just old stuff. Plastic eggs, shredded banners, wall hangings. Stuff from past Easters that nobody bothered to throw out." I didn't answer. But that night, before falling asleep, I stared out the shed window. The field outside was just black. No moon. No stars. And somewhere in that dark, I thought I saw something move. Right beside the barn. On Saturday morning, Ryan woke me up early. The sky was still gray. A light wind moved through the tall grass. Everyone else was busy getting ready for church. Kids ran under the porch with plastic eggs and markers in hand. We slipped away quietly, crossing the wet field behind the house. I wasn't fully awake. My ears stung in the cold. But Ryan looked more awake than I'd ever seen him. The barn sat near the edge of the property, just past a broken fence. Rotten wood. Rusted metal roof. A few planks had fallen off the frame. As we got closer, I noticed old Easter bunting strung along the broken rail. Triangular flags, once pastel, now faded and torn. They flapped in the wind like brittle paper. The barn door was cracked open. Ryan pushed it. The hinges gave a long, creaking moan that echoed through the cold air. Inside, pitch black. Smelled like damp earth, mildew, and rotting wood. We stepped in. Thin beams of light cut through the cracks in the walls. Empty horse stalls lined both sides. The wooden boards were cracked and peeling. Scattered across the floor were bits of old toys, plastic eggs, and a foam bunny statue, one ear missing. "There," Ryan said. He pointed to a wall in the corner, where a circle of ripped Easter bunting hung by a rusty wire. I didn't know why it bothered me, but looking at it made my skin crawl. Then, clack. A sharp metallic sound. I turned fast. Clack. Again. Short. Heavy. Like a nail being hammered into wood. "You hear that?" I whispered. Ryan nodded. Not smiling. Not joking. The sound was coming from behind a warped plank at the end of the stalls. A spot too dark for light to reach. We backed away. Ryan pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. "We shouldn't go further," I said quietly. He didn't argue. Didn't move forward. But then, a hand grabbed the edge of the wooden wall. From the other side, a man stepped out of the shadows. Tall. In a filthy jacket. Hair matted. Face pale. Eyes cold. He didn't yell. Didn't threaten. Just stared. Then said, in a voice like gravel grinding metal, "Leave. Now." We didn't speak. Ryan took a step back. So did I. And then we ran. We ran all the way back to the house and didn't look back. I don't remember how long we ran. All I know is that when we stopped, my heart felt like it was going to explode, and my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't work the door latch. Ryan didn't say a word. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard, staring off into nothing. We both knew that man wasn't from around here. After a few minutes, we walked into the kitchen. Grandma was baking an apple pie. The smell of cinnamon filled the air, like it could make everything feel normal again. But it didn't. Not for me. Ryan leaned in and whispered to her, "There's someone in the old barn." She paused. Looked at us both. Then let out a slow breath and said, "No one lives near that side anymore, sweetie." "We saw him," I said. "With our own eyes." She didn't argue. But she didn't ask questions either. My aunt had just walked in and overheard. She shook her head. "Don't start anything. We've got Easter in the morning." And that was the end of the conversation. Underscore 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 underscore. That night, I lay awake in the shed, unable to sleep. The wind moved across the tin roof in slow, moaning waves. I didn't turn on the light. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face again. His stare. And heard his voice. "Leave. Now." The next morning, church bells rang in the distance. Everyone got dressed early. The kids painted eggs. Pastel flags and signs reading, "Happy Easter," were hung on the porch. I hadn't spoken to Ryan since the barn. He wouldn't meet my eyes. We were both pretending nothing happened. While I was getting dressed, I glanced out the window. The barn, the one that had been pitch black the night before, now had a faint glow inside. Not electric. Not natural. 3 small lights. Like oil lamps. They flickered. Shifted. As if someone was moving around inside. I froze. Couldn't breathe. A minute later, the lights went out. The barn stood in silence again. Just an old shape, barely visible through the morning fog. I told Grandma. She called the neighbor who sometimes checked the property. An hour later, he came back. No one there. No footprints. No sign anyone's been around. Underscore 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 underscore. The Easter gathering that afternoon went on like nothing happened. Ham, pies, music, prayers, laughter. But no one looked each other in the eye for too long. I ate in silence, counting the hours until I could leave. Because whatever was in that barn, those torn flags, that flickering light, didn't belong to Easter. I left my grandma's house late Sunday afternoon. Everyone hugged me goodbye. Told me to study hard. Ryan just nodded. Didn't say a word. No one mentioned what happened. No one had to. On the drive out, I looked back through the car window. The barn was still there. Dark. Still. Like nothing had ever happened. Underscore 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 underscore. A month later, Grandma called. Her voice was calm, like she was talking about the weather. No more lights, sweetheart. No one's been around. I said okay. Tried to sound normal. But honestly, I didn't care about the update. Because I knew. It wasn't in my head. Underscore 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 underscore. Now, every time I hear Easter bells streaming online, every time I see pastel bunting on someone's porch, every time I pass an old barn leaning crooked in the distance, I remember those cold eyes. That smell of damp hay and rotting wood. The sharp clack of metal in the silence. And those three tiny flickering lights, glowing in the mist, then gone. Underscore 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 underscore. I never went back. Not because I'm scared. Because I believe some places, you only see once. And if you ever hear the sound of hammering metal in an old barn around Easter, don't go near it. Someone might be getting ready for their own kind of service. One you weren't invited to. That was the last of our 3 true Easter horror stories. Do you think it was just a coincidence, or something more? If you've ever seen something strange on Easter night, share it in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join Nightmare Vault for more tales that haunt the edges of reality. Sleep tight, and keep your eyes on the shadows.